Not only that this is a love letter to the Final Destination franchise, but I would say this film does some things that I think is a massive improvement over the franchise overall. What is up, guys and horror fans? Welcome back to my channel. This is OCD Movie Reviews. My name is On The Brinkat, and today I'm going to review the latest horror film that came out, and that film is Final Destination Bloodlines. This movie is the 6th Final Destination movie in the franchise. This movie is directed by Zach Lipovsky and Adam Steen, and this movie stars Caitlin Santillana, Tia Bronze, Richard Harmon, Brett Bassiner, and Tony Todd. Plagued by a recurring violent nightmare, a college student returns home to find the one person who can break the cycle and save her family from the horrific fate that awaits them. So we got the latest installment in the Final Destination franchise, and I gotta say, I really enjoy this franchise. It's not like my favorite horror franchise of all time, it's not like the Scream franchise, but I love this franchise. I thought the first movie is a very fun, energetic film that's a great introduction to the series. I thought the second movie is a pretty solid sequel, nothing spectacular, but had some pretty good death scenes. The third movie I actually find pretty underrated. Some people didn't like the third movie. I really enjoyed the third movie. That tanning bed scene, man, that's probably one of the most iconic Final Destination deaths. And I gotta say, the fourth movie, we can all agree, it's definitely the worst movie in this series. I hate the fourth movie, but I gotta say, the fifth one was a pretty surprise movie. I think it's a very solid, surprisingly good prequel to the first movie. So when I heard there's a new Final Destination movie, I didn't know what to think, to be honest with you, until that teaser trailer came out. And then I was on board with it. Because when it comes to horror legacy sequels, there have been some great ones, like the Scream movies. The latest Scream movies have been great. So, you know what? I feel like when it comes to horror legacy sequels, most of them have been pretty good. There are some bad ones, but there have actually been some surprisingly good ones. So I was excited for Final Destination Bloodlines. I was really expecting this movie to be just a fun, turn your brain off, fun horror film that knows exactly what it is. That's like my premonition with this film, of my prediction. But I gotta say, guys, my premonition absolutely fails with this movie, because holy crap, guys, this movie really surprised me. I was not expecting Final Destination Bloodlines to be as, I would say, good as it is. I thought this is a good, really good Final Destination movie. I would say even, this is probably the best Final Destination movie that we have gotten, honestly. Not only that this is a love letter to the Final Destination franchise, but I would say, this film does some things that I think is a massive improvement over the franchise overall. And I gotta say, my biggest positive when it comes to this movie is the characters. Now, these aren't like the most memorable characters in movie history or anything, but the characters in this movie, you actually feel for in this film. I feel like that's the problem that I have with most of these movies, is that the characters are pretty standard, pretty typical. You don't really care for the characters that much. All you care about is the deaths. You want to feel scared throughout the characters. This movie, you feel for the characters, because I think it's because of the family aspect. The family aspect absolutely ups the stakes a little bit more in the movie, so it makes it kind of easy for you to care a bit more about them. And I gotta say, the main girl who plays Stephanie in this film, that's played by Caitlin Santillana, hopefully I said her name right. If I haven't pronounced her name right, I apologize. She is great in this film as the main lead, because she's the one that gets all the shit and gets all the predictions about these deaths, and you really feel for her. You really want her to rescue her family in the film from all the deaths that are happening. And she is great in the film. I haven't seen her in the film before. I want to see her in more stuff. I gotta say, Tony Todd, for his final performance, rest in peace Tony Todd, he does a great job. I loved him in the Final Destination movies, the first two movies. Great return for him throughout this film. He is great in this film for his final performance. Rest in peace, man. But I gotta say, the character that actually really stood out for me, honestly, is Richard Harmon's character. He plays the rebel cousin in the family. He is actually hysterical in this film. There are so many line deliveries that he presented in the film that I was literally cracking up laughing. He's kind of like US Agent in Thunderbolts. He's like one of those likable assholes in the film, but he's just hilarious to watch and very likable. I thought Richard Harron does a really good job in the film. But the rest of the acting is really good, and this family in the film, you root for them to not die in this film. And that's why I love the stakes within this family. When this premonition and all the deaths are happening in the film, you don't want this family to die. You really root for this family to live throughout the situations they're in, and I feel like that's a massive improvement throughout this film than the rest of the films in the franchise. You know, because all we care about is like who dies and, you know, all the death scenes and stuff, all the over-the-top death scenes. This movie actually tries with character development, and I thought it does a really good job with it. And let's talk about the deaths in this movie, because, oh my gosh guys, the deaths in this movie, wow, there is so many death scenes that are creative and also completely insane in this film. There's even a couple of death scenes that I actually was killing myself laughing because of how fucking ridiculous it is. But that's the thing about this movie. The deaths in this film, it's just fun to watch. They're filmed so well. The CGI when it comes to these deaths are really well done in this film. If you're a big fan of the Final Destination franchise, the deaths will definitely not disappoint you here. The deaths are brutal in this film, and there are some really fun ones as well, and very creative ones as well. The suspense before the deaths, the way this movie is presented, it's directed so well. Those two directors definitely directed this movie very, very well. The cinematography is great. The suspense. This movie is definitely the most suspenseful film in the Final Destination franchise because it's all about the build-up to these deaths. You feel like you're on the edge of your seat the entire freaking time. And there are, of course, some surprises, some twists and turns when it comes to the build-up to the death scenes. And, oh my gosh, it just makes this movie much more fun to watch. But I really also like the character development and the story as well. You care for this family. You care for the situation they're in. And I think it's a very creative way to, like, kind of move forward with the Final Destination movies. You know, with the other Final Destination movies, you know, they're about a couple of teens or a bunch of workers. This time it's about a family, so the stakes definitely up high within the film. And I just really thought this film does a really well done of, you know, caring about these characters and caring about this family. This is even the funniest movie in the Final Destination movies. There is a lot of great dark humor in this film that I was actually killing myself laughing in. It definitely has some lighthearted moments, but of course there are some dark moments. There are some thrilling moments. Final Destination Bloodlines is literally a right representation of how you do a fun summer horror film. I gotta say guys, overall, Final Destination Bloodlines really surprised me. This movie was much better than I thought it was going to be, and I think this is definitely the best Final Destination movie we've got. I thought the characters are really well handled in this film. You root for this family to get out of the situation they're in. The death scenes, holy god, the death scenes are incredible in this film. There are some fun ones, there are some intense ones, there are some unexpected ones as well. But also, I think the story was very well handled in this film, and the cinematography and the direction this film was taking, it is really well done. This is definitely like a massive improvement over the franchise overall. Not to say the other movies are bad or anything, I just felt like the story of those films, you know, they just keep repeating themselves. This movie at least tries to do a bit of a spin to it, and I thought Final Destination Bloodlines did those elements very freaking well. It's definitely a right representation of a fun summer blockbuster horror film that I feel like you should take your friends, have a good time. This is definitely one of those films that you just have to have a good time with, but also feeling scared and suspense at the exact same time. I gotta say guys, I was not expecting this movie to be as good as it is, so I gotta say for Final Destination Bloodlines, absolutely go see this film on the big screen. Definitely one of the bigger surprises of the year. I was expecting this film not to be, you know, as good as it is. I was expecting this film to just be a fun movie. Man, this movie was better than I expected. So guys, that is my review for Final Destination Bloodlines. Let me know what you think of this movie in the comments below. And a couple of questions. What is your favorite Final Destination movie of all time? And what is your favorite Final Destination death of all time? Let me know all those in the comments below. Make sure you guys follow me on social media links down below. Keep in contact with me, and make sure you guys subscribe to my channel, notify for my latest movie reviews and other movie related content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a nice day.